This story about Brother P and Mr. Tony Brown. All right. Um, let's say 2006, 2007 ish. I don't know the exact year. I got the book Empower the People by Mr. Tony Brown. Tony Brown of the Tony Brown Journal. For you young people who never heard him, longest running black television show in the history of America. I think about 30 years. And it used to come on PBS. You can find some spots. Well, I showed you a spot, but that's not the Tony Brown Journal. That was him being interviewed by one of Alex, I forgot the name, Alex, which got one of his reporters, talking about Illuminati, the real one, not the phony one, the real one. And he broke that down. But he had his own show. And, you know, I had a book called Empower the People. A lot of people never heard of it. Anybody who's denounced and renounced need to go get that book and read Empower the People by Tony Brown. Interesting thing that at the time I read it, I was a former member of Omega Psi Phi. Mr. Tony Brown has always been a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha. In the book, because he's talking about Freemasonry and Illuminati and all these different things, he makes some type of disclaimer about Alpha Phi Alpha. And what he says in the book, paraphrasing, not quoting, but this was he didn't get rid of or quit Alpha Alpha because it's a public fraternity. Okay. Well, I read that and, I just brushed that to the side and continued the book. Very, very informative book. Yes. So I never thought I would meet him, but if I did, that'd be great or whatever. Because when I was a senior or 1988, he came to the campus and my friends escorted him. James Tanner and Rodney Best were his escorts, or they walked him around the campus. And other than that, he also spoke at my graduation in 1989. And when he spoke at my graduation, I knew I was about to pledge Q grad chapter somewhere in the United States. But he made a statement, and I was knee deep into getting down on at Hampton University. They didn't have line my last 2 years there, but I tried every year I was there as a sophomore to my last year, 88, 89. Anyway, he made a statement. He said, listen, all the Black Greek letter organizations nationwide should cancel their national conventions, accept the money for the national conventions, take the money. This is the commencement speech. He said, create their own bank, then borrow against the money in the bank, take out a loan to build a 5-star hotel. Then the next year, he either said, I don't know if it was the Elite 8 at the time or the Divine 9, whatever it was, he said the next year, everyone have their national conventions at this hotel and start turning that money over and over again in the community. Well, that call went out and never was answered. That financial revolution call. That was nice, but that was my commencement speech, and I was like, that's a great idea. And Empower the People, he poses ideas about money, but he talks about money and secret societies. So anyway, years go by. 2007, I speak at Du Bois Hall at a Biblical Perspective of Greekdom 2007. And after that, I got a job there. I was living in South Carolina, but I came back to speak at a conference held by Commissioner Love. Well, I went back home after the conference. It was a success. People denounced, deliverance, all of that. It was wild, and we went back home and I was working and everything, but the opportunity came to go back to college to go back and get a second undergraduate degree in mathematics because I like teaching math in schools in South Carolina. So I go back, I started taking classes, and my first year there, I was working at Holmes Hall, the honors dorm, and Tony Brown was the head or the director of the mass media department, the broadcast journalism department in particular. And one day during a little side avenue at Hampton University, the real HU, yes, Hampton University, I was walking down the sidewalk, and me and him face to face. Now, to backtrack, after I read his book, when he said that Alpha Phi Alpha was not a secret society, I mailed him a copy, not a physical copy, it was an internet copy of the Alpha Phi Alpha ritual. You know, I never got a response, but it is what it is. But now, a couple years later, I don't know exactly how many years later, it's 2008-ish, and that went down around 2006-ish. We are by ourselves walking toward each other by Holly Tree. It's the diner for the football players and the staff, faculty staff dining room. And we're on a collision course. We stopped in front of each other, started talking. We started chopping it up. Now, he claims he was a Christian, you know, before in his show and everything, but he wasn't a regular Christian. At the end of that talk, he was into some type of metaphysics. I didn't even get a chance to get into his book. I told him I read Empower the People, into the fraternity stuff, because he got into some stuff like metaphysics. I was like, whoa. So you never know what people are into till you meet them. But he had another book he was working on. He said he was going to send me a copy. And we worked on the campus, so I thought I would see him again. Never saw him again. And that would be his last year of work. He worked there for 2 or 3 years. That would be his last year working there. But if you want to understand more about this story, go read his book, Empower the People. The Conspiracy to Take Your Money. I think that's the subtitle, I'm paraphrasing it. But that's how Brother P, the artist formerly known as Philly Phil, Minister Joseph Telefaro, met Mr. Tony Brown, the author of Empower the People, and he authored another book, Little Black Lies, White Lies, something like that. And he said he had another book coming. I never received it, but he left after that semester. Then I left 2 years later and ended up back in Cross the Tracks. And I stand by that story. Shalom.